Hello, my name is Lizette Drusila Flores Delgado and I come from Universidad Autónoma de Chihuahua. Today I'm going to talk about the development of reflective skills and identity during the Practicum of Student Teachers. This is part of a bigger research that I'm doing with my colleagues, Drs. Irlanda, Olave, and Cecilia Villarreal. So if you want to see the whole thing, you can look at their presentations too. So first, before I start, I want to ask you this. Has that happened to you that you are like constantly thinking about your teaching? That you are driving and then you start thinking, oh, I would like to try this new activity with my students, or that you finish a class and then you start questioning why you did what you did, and you start wondering if there were things that you could have done better? Well, that is because practice, reflection is part of our work as teachers. We are constantly asking ourselves what worked, what didn't work, and what can we do differently to improve our practice. In fact, research has shown that reflective practice in teaching allows us to analyze our past actions, reactions, decisions, emotions, and behavior, and not only ours, but also of our students, in order to reshape and improve our teaching in the future. That is, we are always thinking about ways to improve our classes. So, student teachers, as you know, they are the, students that are in the process of becoming teachers. So they are exposed to this real classroom environment while they are in practicum. So they reflect during this stage of their university major, they reflect on their own practice, but they also reflect on the practice of their mentors, that is, the teachers that are guiding them from the schools where they are doing their practicum, but they also reflect on the practicum on the action, of their own students. So as you can see, there is reflection everywhere, right? So we are always reflecting, we are always thinking about what to do. In addition, we have found that reflection can have some impact on your identity. So what is your identity? Identity in teaching, teacher identity, refers to how students and teachers integrate their influence, tensions, contradictions, and how we make sense of what is going on, and how all those perceptions make us create the image that we have of teaching, of being teachers. That is, how we feel as teachers. So, Maynard and Furlong found that before actually teaching a real class, student teachers already know the kind of teacher they want to be. All of us that wanted to be teachers or that became teachers along the road, we had an idea of what kind of teacher we want to be, and also what kind of teacher we don't want to be, right? So during practicum, it seems that this image is reshaped because of all the experiences that we are having there. But it's not only the practicum itself, but it is more, or that is what we thought, that the critical thinking, the process of reflecting of what is going on, what shapes our identity. So we have this kind of, this kind of theory that in practicum, the reflection that occurs there allows us to develop our identity, and after all, to decide to teach or not to teach, because we have found that some student teachers realize that nope, teaching is not for me, so no thank you, right? So the purpose of this study was to explore the ways in which student teachers, with and without previous experience, develop their reflective skills while reshaping their teacher identity during their practicum. So the participants were 30 student teachers of this part of the study from 9th semester of a BA in Lengua Inglesa. They were all taking the practicum course, and data was gathered between January 2017 and December 2019. The methodology, this is a qualitative case study. All the data was anonymous, as you will see when I show you the examples. There are no names, of course. We use a comparison contrast of pre and post practicum philosophies supported by reflections on weekly journals. All student teachers are asked before their practicum to write a teaching philosophy, telling us their ideas about what teaching is, how they feel as teachers, and we ask them to also do it at the end of the practicum to see how these ideas have changed. We use eggshell coding technique by Glaser and Strauss, and this one was in 2 cycles. During the first cycle, we analyzed the data to obtain the categories for the study. And during the second cycle, we use a comparison contrast. First, within each cohort, because as I told you, it was a longitudinal study of 2 years. So first among the participants of each cohort, and then among the other cohorts to find similarities and differences. So what did we find? The important part, right? Well, in the pre-practicum philosophies, this is what we found so far. In general, people have a positive image of teaching. Many student teachers have claimed that since they were very little, they wanted to teach. Some of them even mentioned that they used to play to be teachers with their friends, with their family, and then now that they are teaching, it's like a dream come true. Others were kind of neutral. Some said like, well, it doesn't bother me, but it's not really what I want to do. Now, it is important to mention that this BA program prepares the students to do both teaching and translation. So it is very common that we have people that say, I don't want to teach, and others that say, I don't want to translate, and others that want to do both, of course, and maybe some that want to do neither, but well. So in general, there is a positive image of teaching. However, we found some participants that hate teaching with all their hearts. For example, this one, he said, teaching does not come to me easy, nor it is something I particularly find pleasure in. But well, anyways, they had to take the practicum course because it's part of their curricula, right? So he had to do it anyway. Then we found that there are many reasons why people want to become teachers. These are, in general, some of the things that we found. People talk about their own experiences, how when they were students, they felt lost and they don't want their students to feel that thing, right? Others mention a lot this feeling of accomplishment, of that this is a very rewarding profession, especially when you see that your students are learning. Other people said that they want to change teaching. So they have this idea that they want to do better than what is being done now as English teachers specifically. They said that some of the preparation that they got is of low quality, mainly because of the teachers, yeah? And other people, most of them actually mentioned the word help too, that they want to help others to learn, to find that they are unique, that everybody can learn. Regarding their ideas about teaching, these are some of the most common that we found. That some people said that not because you have a degree, that means that you are a good teacher. So we as teachers have to be in constant improvement. We have to listen to feedback, to understand our students, to communicate with them so that we learn about their needs and improve our classes. They also mentioned that you can realize if students are learning, if your class is successful, because of the participation of attitude that students show in your class. So because of that, some of them mentioned that they want to create this positive environment where their students, feel safe and feel comfort to ask questions, to learn, so that they trust their teachers, yeah? So this was something that was really important for us, that one of them mentioned, I want them to learn, not to study. And this is very important because they have all mentioned that most of the times, and that is how they learn themselves too, teachers focus on grammar, on vocabulary, and at the end, we are creating people that are very good at studying the language. Some people can tell you the rules of present perfect, it is for experiences, for blah, 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 blah. But in reality, at the time of using it, they can't. So that's why they said they want them to learn, not to study. Then, regarding the post-practicum, when we compare them, this was also very interesting because most of the student teachers kept the same ideas. So all the ones that I already showed you, they still feel them, but they learned through experience these lessons. Some of them mentioned that although it is important that you create a positive environment, you have to make the distinction between being their teacher and their friend. So you want them to trust you, but there is a line. Why? Because she worked with secondary school kids, and she mentioned in her journals that when they were they were feeling over comfortable, they wouldn't work. So that is something that she wants to avoid. Yeah. Other student teachers reflected on this. They said that few activities don't mean a poor lesson, that sometimes less is more. At the beginning, this student teacher was planning for a lot of activities, like the lesson plan was full, yeah? But she realized that this was not working because students were overwhelmed, and at the end, they were doing a lot of work, but not really learning, yeah? Another student realized that his visual contact was not really good, so he has to work on them because he realized through his reflection that an observation of his own, an analysis of his own practicum, that when he pay attention to the students by looking at them, then they work better, yeah? So they realize that the idea, the image that we have of learning determines our learning quality because we are motivated. But anyway, some students said, for example, this, for some it changed. He said, being a teacher was not my first option, but now I love it. So after this practicum experience, his identity as a teacher was changed because now he wants to teach. And actually nowadays, he's still a teacher and is a really good teacher, both of English and of Spanish. And this one, on the other hand, he said, no, I'm not a teacher, but now I found that I'm not a teacher, I can teach, and I can move on. And that's also valid because sometimes we want something, but we really don't have the skills. And in his case, he really didn't reflect a lot in his journals and his philosophies in general. They were very superficial. So he didn't reach this level of reflection. So what happened? What we found in general? Constant reflective practice makes a student teacher, or seems to, more critical and analytical of the stages of their teaching. However, not everyone reflects. So this is something that we as teachers or as supervisor of practicum, we have to encourage. We have to teach them to reflect because they don't know. If we ask them a question, they just go, yes, no. So we have to go further so that they can really reflect and learn. People who engaged in reflective practice are more likely to positively reflect their identity. Those who really question their teaching, who try to learn, who try to improve, who had longer diary entries, for example, they changed their attitude. So they said, I don't hate it anymore. I kind of like it. And some again, they said, I love it. So I want to teach forever. But all this shows us that there is a need of adding practicum courses to language teaching programs so that student teachers can work on their reflective skills while they are in front of a classroom. Because again, this is something that we as teachers always do. So the sooner we learn to do it, the better will be for our practicum, not only as student teachers, but also as teachers. For example, I have a lot of years of experience now, and I still think, I'm always thinking of ways of improving my classes, and I'm sure that you who are watching this video do that too, right? So, after all, practicum, reflection, and identity are related, but instead of being reflection within practicum to form the identity, it is more like a simultaneous process, yeah? All of these occur at the same time, not as a set of steps. And if you do this well, you will answer this question, to teach or not to teach. So, these are some of the references that I use for this part of the study. As I already told you, this is just part of a bigger study. So if you want to see the other areas like the analysis of the journals, the analysis of the observations, then please check the work of my colleagues. If you have any questions, please leave them here in the comment sections, or I hope to see you at the Encuentro Conferencistas of this Congress. I will be there on Thursday, October the 8th, from 1910 to 2010, time of Mexico City. Chihuahua time it will be 1810, but I hope to see you there. I hope this is useful, and I hope that you reflect of what I told you, and that this reminds you how important it is that we are always reflecting on our teaching. These are our email addresses. Mine is the first one, ldflores@watch.mx. So Thank you very much, and I'll be waiting for your questions.